Close your eyes and try to remember last Tuesday. Not a big event, just an ordinary Tuesday. What did you have for breakfast? What was the first thing you thought about when you woke up? Who did you speak to in the morning? For most people, the answer is almost nothing. Last Tuesday is essentially gone. And yet you lived every minute of it. You were conscious for perhaps 16 hours. Thousands of moments occurred. And nearly all of them have vanished. William James found this deeply puzzling and deeply revealing. As the founder of American psychology and author of the most comprehensive psychological text of the 19th century, James devoted extraordinary attention to the question of memory. Not just how we recall things, but why we remember some experiences with crystalline clarity while most of our lives dissolve without a trace. His answers remain startling. James drew a fundamental distinction that neuroscience would not validate for another century. He separated what he called primary memory from secondary memory. Primary memory is what we now call working memory or short-term memory, the immediate, luminous penumbra of the present moment. It is everything you are aware of right now, the trailing edge of the immediate past still glowing in consciousness. Secondary memory is long-term memory, the vast archive of past experience that we must actively retrieve, pulling it back into consciousness from wherever it resides. But the more important question for James was this: how does experience pass from primary to secondary memory at all? Why do some moments get archived permanently while most simply fade? And here his answer was both simple and profound. Attention is the gatekeeper. James made a claim that felt almost obvious once stated, but that people consistently underestimate. The things we attend to deeply are the things we remember. Not because attention magically stamps experiences into the brain, but because attention triggers a cascade of cognitive processing that strengthens neural encoding. When you attend to something, you connect it to other things you know, you think about it from multiple angles, you feel something about it. All of these processes deepen the memory trace. Conversely, the things we do not attend to, the routine, the automatic, the barely noticed, pass through consciousness like water through a sieve. This is why you cannot remember most of Tuesday. Tuesday was largely composed of things you have done hundreds of times before. Your brain, efficiently, did not bother to record them. James also understood the role of emotion in memory with remarkable clarity. He noted that we remember best the moments that made us feel most intensely, whether with joy, fear, grief, or surprise. This is not sentimental nostalgia. It is biology. We now know that emotional arousal triggers the release of stress hormones including adrenaline and cortisol, which act on the amygdala and hippocampus to consolidate memories more deeply. James intuited this mechanism from pure observation. Think of the most vivid memories of your life. The moment you fell in love. The phone call that changed everything. The performance that went perfectly, or the one that did not. They are vivid precisely because they mattered. The emotional intensity signaled to your brain, "This is important, encode this deeply." James understood that memory is not a neutral recording device. It is a system built by evolution to preserve what matters most for survival and flourishing. He also made a prescient observation about the malleability of memory. James noticed that every time we recall a memory, we are not simply replaying a fixed recording. We are reconstructing it, filling gaps with inference, coloring it with our current emotional state, reshaping it subtly to fit our present understanding of ourselves. This is what modern psychologists call reconstructive memory, and it is among the most important and unsettling discoveries in cognitive science. Your memory of your childhood is not your childhood. It is a story you have told yourself so many times, refined through so many retellings, that it has become something quite different from the original experience. This is not a flaw, it is how human memory works. But it has enormous implications for how we understand ourselves and our pasts. James was also deeply interested in memory improvement, and here his pragmatism shone. He believed that memory could be trained, but not in the way most people assume. Simply repeating information, he argued, is among the least effective strategies. What works is what he called associative richness, the practice of connecting new information to things you already know, building elaborate webs of association that give memory multiple hooks by which to retrieve experience. This insight predates by decades the modern concept of elaborative encoding. The more connections you make to new information, the more you ask, how does this relate to what I already know? The more deeply it is embedded in long-term memory. James was essentially describing spaced repetition and active recall a century before they became popular study techniques. For James, the practical conclusion was clear. If you want to remember something, attend to it fully, connect it to other knowledge, and let yourself feel something about it. Stop trying to photograph experience passively and start engaging with it actively. Your memory will improve not because your brain has changed, but because you have finally started giving it the raw material it needs to do its job. The science of memory is still evolving, but James set the framework that guides it still. Subscribe to The Psychology of William James to keep exploring the ideas that built modern psychology, and that can still transform how you think and learn.